everybody, it's me, John Ward, and welcome back to another very special One Filmmaker, One Film. And today I do have a co-host. He's below me there. That is Joe Lujan, the very first co-host that I've ever had on One Filmmaker. But we have a returning guest. And who is that guest? Can you please introduce yourself?
Uwe Boll from Germany, live here, connected.
Yes.
So yeah, and I was with you before, right? So
yeah. This is your second time on, and I really appreciate you coming back because you have a brand new movie out and called First Shift, which I enjoyed quite a bit. It's a cop movie, takes place in New York. It's kind of the day in the life of these two officers, and I really enjoyed it. And I have Joe on here because he is a fan, just like I am. He loves House of the Dead. He has mentioned that many times. And
Blood Rain.
And Blood Rain. That's another one that he loves too. I love Blood Rain also. And we also watched They Wait, and we really enjoyed that one too. So, both of us are big fans of this. So, so once again, thanks for being, I really, really appreciate it. And I love your films, and I have an entire shelf full of them. And like I mentioned to you last time, I think people are just idiots. I don't think they understand what you're doing. I don't think that they get it. Your films range from zombie movies to comic book movies to dramas to comedies to, you're just not a one guy, like genre. You're all over the place, which is great. And why is that? Because now First Shift is a drama. It doesn't have the regular actors that you use. I've never seen these people before. So can you, what's going on? What's First Shift all about?
I mean, the first part of the question, I think I would be bored if I always would try to make the same films with the same style. And I think there are some filmmakers that are in love with themselves, and they think they have to put that special twist on whatever Terrence Malick, whatever, that they're trying to make. Something is making noise. I don't know what it is, but
yeah, I hear a little bit of a clicking.
Yeah, but it's not me. I don't know what it is. So
just started, yeah.
Yeah, what could that be? I mean, it's very silent in my room.
Checking my cords.
It's like almost like they're trying to interfere. The Russian government tries to shut us down right now. I don't know, but it's
they know you're talking, so they're clicking in.
Shut him down, that's really crazy. I hope it goes away. And I would be. I think my attitude is more like you should tell different stories. You should do different genres if you have the opportunity, and you should basically. Just let it go based on the story you have to tell. If you do House of the Dead, is a different thing as Assault on Wall Street or Darfur, and I think the style of the director should be supporting the story you want to tell, and not like, all my films need to be looking like this, or and so this is I didn't want to limit myself. And with First Shift, is this kind of, it came back. I don't know. Should be locked back in? If this is on the recording, that would be very annoying, right?
It's a little clicky, but I can understand you. I can hear you.
Well, I'm just thinking about the audience, that they maybe feel like, what is this? Is my thing destroyed or whatever? I don't know. It's like kind of strange.
Do you want to start? Do you want to go out and come back in? Do you think that would?
I don't know what it could be like. Let me go here.
Joe, is everything okay on your side? I've checked my connections. It just. Oh, you're hard to understand. Is it maybe on your end?
Yeah, I think it's maybe you. Maybe switch your yeah. Ah, yeah. Let's switch your microphone off, and then we see if it's coming from you or not.
It's Joe.
Yeah, it's from you. So something clicked.
Yeah, it's you. It's on your end, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll try to come back in.
Come
There
back
we go.
in, and it's easier. And yeah, I mean, that's what I think about in general. That I don't want to be bored. And First Shift is, after a while, my first real film I did after Rampage 3. You know, and then you feel like maybe you should do something what you never did before. Maybe you shouldn't use Michael Paré and Clint Howard and whatever, like people I worked with so many times. You know, maybe you should use new people. And I looked out because it was a New York film, and it should sound to like New York. I didn't want it to fake the accent, whatever. So I used basically really only actors from New York, besides Kristen Renton, who is from Louisiana. So, you know, it's this kind of the way to do it. And the people in First Shift, I think, were a lot of this kind of TV series actors, you know, like that Dennis Soley was in The Juice and so on. James Magamin in Orange is the New Black. So they were all, you're back on. And now it's silence, so it's good.
Yeah, no clicking. So
okay, cool.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah.
I just said like that First Shift was this kind of, I wanted to be a New York film, so I used only actors from New York and not like people I worked with a lot before. Just new people who are more known from TV shows, like Kristen Renton, like Sons of Anarchy, or Gino Pizzi from Shades of Blue. Now we have a different note. So
is that Joe? Is that still on your end?
Oh, that's not me.
Okay,
I'm not sure what that is. No, it's not me. My phone's on silent.
Okay.
Yeah, my phone. I'm on. Yeah, I'm also.
But it's not like the clicking we had before. It's like if it's like making beep for like every minute. So and I liked and missed police films. You know, it was this kind of like, and I didn't want to do a film like a TV series. I mean, everybody says, "Oh, that should be a series now." Everybody said that should be like could be a TV series. I said, "Look, I'm nothing against it. I would be all for it, but it's not the typical TV series where you have like detectives trying to solve a case and that is it. It's like I wanted to do this frenzy as a police officer to show this that you don't know what the next day brings. You know, like this kind of like." You drive around, the radio says you have to go there, you have to go there, you have to go there. That's the idea of First Shift, and not this classical what you have in CSI or Blue Bloods and all that shows, where you have, of course, like they're investigating something. And that's the case in like what we had in the classic, like Kojak and like all this older shows too. So Magnum, and so on. And I felt, no, I want to have like every single time, like you don't really know what's happened next. It could be like you have to save a guy who had a heart attack, what we have in First Shift, or you have to save a dog because the guy went to the hospital. But you also could get called in to a knife stabbing, or they find a dead body. So I think this was the idea with First Shift. And with Gino and Kristen, I think I was very lucky that the chemistry between them was so good, and they really wrote a lot of their dialogue on their own. You know, because I said like, so I wrote the story, what will happen in that episodes, what will happen over the day. And then I said, look, what you talk in the car about, like what you like each other or you don't like each other, like you have to figure it out yourself. And they did a lot of this kind of WhatsApp calls, like where they discussed what they want to do in what scene. And that turned out very good. I mean, there are some actors that cannot do this. They need to have everything in writing. but there are some actors also, they're very good in this. Okay, that's my character, what I would do in that situation, what I would do, what I would say. And I think what's very well working in First Shift is this kind of that he doesn't want her, but he doesn't want her because he lost his child and whatever. You learn why later, you know, and the wife left him and so on. It's like he just doesn't want to work with people. And she comes in and basically gives a shit about his past. She comes in full of energy. Is very happy to be in New York, and you know, and this kind of like, and she slowly but steady like takes him over and brings some light in some sun in his life in a way, you know. So it's a film. It's more like a hopeful film. And it's funny, I watched recently, I mean, way after I shot First Shift, that film with Sean Penn where he is the ambulance driver and in Brooklyn, and they shot exactly at the same spots under the same bridge, like French Canal, like exactly where we shot, they shot, right? In the buildings and so on. It's very interesting for me when I watch this. I said, oh, we shot there, we maybe had the same cars, the same police guys, you know. So, but that film was very, very depressing. You know, I don't know if you watched that film. I don't know what the name was, where he is with a guy, he gets a new guy, also similar, but the new guy is very depressed. He's very depressed. And the whole film is very depressed. I mean, it fits to Sean Penn, but it never gives you any hope, any positivity, or any, let's say, did you find something? Did you check that?
Yeah, Alphabet City.
Yes, yeah. So, and you know, and this was very. I still liked it because I like dark films and stuff like this, right? But I felt I did so many also kind of depressing films. I wanted to do a film what has this crime and maybe some hard scenes, but overall has more a lighter tone, as a Saul on Wall Street or whatever, you know, or Rampage or Darfur or something. So that is why I did it. And I think interesting is a film like this, it was only in 10 movie theaters. It was basically an advertised theatrical release, but it didn't work out at all. But then on Paramount Plus now and Showtime, it's doing very well, right? So we are since 4 weeks on Paramount Plus, like in the top 10, what is for a film, what was not even $2 million to shoot, like kind of sensational good, you know, because you are right besides The Rock or The Agency and all that stuff, what they produce for hundreds of millions of dollars and stuff like this. And you're like, you keep up for like 4 weeks. And, you know, and the frustrating part is that of course, they're not paid us a lot, you know, so it's not that I got my money back. And B, now they could finance a second part, or they could say, look, do 10 episodes. That is what I hoped, right? Normally you read in the trades like, oh, that did good. Like The Agency right now with Michael Fassbender, boom, 2 episodes aired, renewal, second season. You know, that show with Richard Gere and whatever. So here we're talking here about 80, 90 million for a season to shoot that. And they're just, 2 episodes doing well, boom, 90 million. But they're not calling me and say, here, $5 million to shoot more films. You know, like whatever, like it would be pennies on the dollar for them, but we don't even reach anybody. You know,
Well,
and
that doesn't, because while watching it, I felt that it had it was shot kind of gritty, handheld, you know, kind of 70s. The script felt kind of 80s with the buddy cop movies.
Yes.
And then it kind of had like that Robert Altman Shortcuts feel to it, where the stories intersected. And of course, the character I cared most about was the dog. So you know, I wanted to make sure that he was okay. But they should, because I mean, this is a part 1. So hopefully we will get that part 2.
No, it's what I said also. Like I basically have an agency helping me. I have Quiver Distribution who bought the first part, right? And I said, you should talk to them. I mean, you sold it to them, so you have to talk to them. And they said his guy who bought it said no to, they will not finance a TV series or whatever, right? So, and then I said, okay, but look, what is if we make a second part, but they give us more money for it this time, right? So, I mean, I cannot shoot a film for $1.5 million and get 150 grand from Paramount Plus. I mean, it's like, sorry, right? That's bullshit. So, and I saw it always like the system is like this. If you run successful somewhere, then finally they wake up and give you something for it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not the case. It's like totally like this absurdity again now. I mean, I went through so much absurdity in my career, but that is kind of like you're super happy when that came out, when they said, look where you are, #2, whatever, right? And the actors were all sending it around and were flipping out and like, wow, I cannot believe it, #1 in drama movies this week. And then even this has no positive consequences, you know, where you feel like, I mean, what the fuck, you know, like, how's that possible? And then like one of my, like the agency, they talked to Netflix, and then Netflix said, yeah, but it's on Paramount Plus. Why we should why we should do anything with it, right? And then we said, yeah, but it's only for 1 year at Paramount Plus. If we would shoot now a TV series, like 10 episodes or 8 episodes, when we deliver, the first part is free. And then we can give you the first part for free to air it before the TV series comes, right? So, and also there no further reaction. And then you think like, oh fuck it, I don't know what to say. It's like it's almost insane. And then Paramount Plus in Germany, I mean, it's the other thing. It was Thanksgiving, and it was that Paramount is in a huge turmoil, right? Because of the ownership change. And everybody sues everybody. And when you read the trades, it's like a total shit show. Nobody knows who gets fired, who is in charge. That's not good in general, right? So that also didn't help me. And that over Thanksgiving, nobody was there, didn't help me either. So, and, but I think now when they're all back, they should like just think about it and say, okay, the movie did good. Why not ordering a few episodes? And the other thing is also Paramount Germany. So they have a full German like crew here. And they omitted last year, they did a few German originals for Paramount Plus where you had like German speaking actors, whatever they do. That didn't work out. So Paramount said, that's bullshit. We're not doing it anymore. Okay, so then I called them and said, look, buy my film now for Germany, because Paramount has only North America, Paramount Plus. They bought only North America. They didn't bought the rest of the world. So I said, okay, then just buy my film right now for Germany, because look, it works. Right? And they said, yeah, congratulations, it works, but we're also not allowed to buy any more films. So then I said, yeah, but what are you doing then? Why you are in an office for Paramount Plus in Germany if you don't produce films and you don't buy films? Because what's the point? You're completely senseless, right? So because they're not involved in loading films up. This all happens in Los Angeles, right? So it's like, you don't need them technically in Germany. You don't need them if you say no more productions and no more buying even of a licensed film. And then they said, yeah, you're right. And then I never heard from them again, you know? And it's this kind of like, you feel like, what is wrong with these people? Like, what is really wrong, you know, where you feel like, why then Paramount spends that money for like 8 people in an office in Munich if they're not doing anything? That's, you know, and that's the thing. And then, but in my past, a lot of times I criticized publicly like decisions of studios or whatever and say, but that doesn't make any sense, you know? And they always, the result is not that they say, oh, Boll is right, and we basically do what he says right now based on, you know, based on it makes no sense, like Kathleen Kennedy at Disney, whatever, right? So she should get fired a long time ago, you know, like this kind of stuff. And no, I'm then the guy who's an asshole. only pointing out like major bullshit, and then I get punished for it instead of Paramount Plus LA should call me or should write an email. Yeah, you're totally right. Why we have these people? We just fired them and closed the office. You know, like that should be the result, and not like, oh, Boll is an asshole. He, we don't want to have anything to do with him anymore. And but that is what they do when you criticize them, right? So, and I had that various times. I had that after Alone in the Dark with Lionsgate. They were so pissed off because I criticized the release, and I said, "Look, what you're doing here is ridiculous." And from the trailer to the poster, I didn't like the campaign, and then it did good, right? It did 5.8 million box office, and then John Feldheimer from Lionsgate told me that I'm basically an asshole, right? And I said, sorry, but it's my future, it's my career, and I said I don't like the trailer, I don't like the TV spots or whatever. I didn't like what they were doing. I said, you need to do this a little different. Like, we never saw Christian Slater or Stephen Dorff, who did a good job on a poster. Like, they were not featured, you know, and they both called me when the movie came out and said, so what's, I was not in a talk show. I was not, you know, like they were ready to go to Jimmy Kimmel and shit like this, and nothing happened. And you feel like, okay, and now you're surprised that it tanked. So, you know, so, but that's the thing. It's like, whatever you do, you get flagged for it, or you get like, this kind of negativity to it, and it's annoying.
Yeah, it's almost like sorry, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Oh no, actually, I was about to say, Joe, you've dealt a lot with distribution. Do you have any questions or anything? So,
no, I agree a lot with you, Boll. It's I've had a few of my films distributed, and it's almost like, it, in a sense, it almost comes off like, just give us your film just to say we have your film, but we're not going to pay 100% attention to it. You know, I've run into some distribution companies where they produce their own films as well, and their attention is all on that. Yes. They're just collecting films from us filmmakers just to add to their catalog, but they don't give two shits about what we've done. They want all the money to come to what their films are. And I see what you're talking about. I definitely agree with you, and it's BS. It really is. It really is.
Yes, and for example, on In the Name of the King, 20th Century Fox, like, on purpose, but what they do normally is this: they attach your trailer in front of their other films, right? Mm-hmm. And In the Name of the King was not attached to anything, so it was not properly trailered through Fox Films, right? And some people on Fox were very mad about it and told me, like, this is totally fucked up. They promised me the trailer is in front of that film, right? Yeah. And we all went to the movies and we're sitting there and like, no, it's not. It's like, there is no fucking trailer. So how can In the Name of the King score based on, you know? And then it didn't score. It was in Germany 2 weeks number 2 in the box office. It was in Spain 2 or 3 weeks in the top 5. It was in England 2 or 3 weeks in the top 5. In US, it tanked. It started on position 6 and then fell off, right? But that was the result of basically almost an internal, like, oh, fuck, dump that film. Boll paid it himself, you know, with investors. We just took it on. And it was this kind of mentality, exactly how you said. If they produce a film and spend 100 million to make a film, then they put everything behind it, what they have, right? Oh, yeah. And if they acquire a film what other people paid, they think, nah, fuck it, whatever. We spent 20 million on the release, we make the money back on DVD, and a good boy.
Yeah.
You know, that is how they handle it. They don't go in a risk. They don't like really do something. And that's very frustrating. And I think, Joe, you're the right person to it also. Like yesterday, I got an article in a New York, wait, the article was in here, the New York film industry is totally dead. It's the article in the Gossamist. Gossamist is like the saying, I mean, Gotham is New York, right? I think it's a city, kind of a city magazine in New York. I put it here in the chat. And I had when I read this, I had so much to say about this, so much to say, because the whole strike, they said after the strike, after COVID, and then the long strike of the actors and everybody, that fucked everything up, right? But you remember how they all celebrated the strike. They all celebrated it. Like they were like, yeah, we will force the studios to do this, blah, 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 blah. And then why is it now totally dead? And I said that from the beginning of the strike. I said, look, it's very simple capitalism. If you strike and in the end you get 50% more money for everything, the people who fall off the cliff are all the crew workers, the little actors, the little filmmakers, the people who doesn't swim in money, who are not attached to big production companies. This production's getting canceled. They will not do them anymore at all to save money. But they will still shelf out $1 billion to Taylor Sheridan a year, right? And that will not change. It's not like Nicole Kidman now is starving. I mean, they were all doing the talk. Remember all that actors, superstars, super rich, talking about we're fighting. Like they were all acting like, oh God, it's so hard to not make $80 million a year anymore for 6 months. You know, it's completely, that was completely insane. And and now it's totally dead. And when you read the article, of course, it's totally dead for everybody who was like participating in productions because it was busy. And, you know, and then when they fall off the cliff, they are like carpenters then, you know, grab people, do trades works and, you know, like stuff like this. They're getting out of the film industry and to survive. And that's so obvious. And then later, all the streamers, as you see now, there is a 30% drop in productions everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so it's way less production, but they didn't cut off the $200 million The Rock Netflix original movie. What, you know, what you could shoot for 100 million instead of 200, but everybody involved gets millions and millions of dollars from the director to every actor. And then they spend 200 million for a streaming movie, what disappears after 3 or 4 weeks. We had that over and over and over again, that movies are not getting in the movie theaters, not getting on DVD and Blu-ray anymore, and they just pop up. Yeah, they're not longer in the top 10 as my film, actually, when you think about it. After 4 weeks, they're gone.
Yeah.
And then you have to type the title in to find that film.
Yeah.
What is this? It for 200 million, like a Netflix, for example, could make not 20, 40 good high-end genre films, and could give like people who are used to work with $1 million, 5 to make it like stronger, bigger, better actors, you know, like to buffer the filmmakers, the genre filmmakers up. And you could create or find the new John Carpenter. You could like find the new Walter Hill and stuff like this. But all of this doesn't happen.
No, it almost seems like they recycle the same things over and over. You know, they know it's going to make a return, so let's just make the same thing over, change up the actors a little bit from our pool, and we'll release it, and it's the same thing over and over and over. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Specifically, even with Netflix, I've noticed that.
Yeah, and it's also like, for example, take Taylor Sheridan. I think they're riding him to death now. And so I like Taylor Sheridan shows. I love Yellowstone, Mayor of Kingstown. I love that stuff. Lioness, I watched them all. But now I started watching The Landman with Billy Bob Thornton, great actor, great cast, again, very good. But it's kind of always the same. You have some cowboys, you have you have action, you have violence, and it's this kind of violence is good because it comes from American cowboys or whatever. You know, they're all the same. And it's this kind of like, I get now the strategy. And it was a fresh wind when Yellowstone came out because it was not diverse. It was not like Vogue. It gave a shit about all of this bullshit, right? And that was gold. And that is why I love the shows. And I love action stuff, so I still keep watching it. But I felt like kind of when Landman started, and then you have the Mexican drug cartel, and he's there getting tortured, whatever, and it's like you feel like that could be also an episode of Lioness now.
Mm-hmm.
And things like this happens also in Yellowstone, and they happen in Mayor of Kingstown. It's this kind of like, you know, the crime syndicates are together with the law enforcement or together with the mob, and then they're fighting each other. So it's this kind of where you feel he writes most of the scripts himself, but I think it's like they're writing it to death. Like it's not, it's basically that what Paramount Plus is all about right now, and it doesn't have anything else.
Yeah.
You know, where you feel like, okay, what is here the strategy from the studio? They did like Apocalypse Now and whatever, you know, like this kind of other stuff. So and I think with Netflix, what there's also like they measured success, and only 18% of the views are done to the content from around the world, like from all the countries together. It's only 18% of the views, right? But the production amount in Korea, Japan, like Latin America, they produce everywhere, like everywhere. In Germany, tons of stuff, Italy, Spain, France. When you see how much money they spend and how much, like thousands of people they have on payroll. And then, I mean, the success is very small for, you know, for this kind of money spent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think also they're making their kind of strategic mistakes. When they, for example, said like the All Quiet on the Western Front, what got 8 Oscars, whatever, like that Edward Berger kind of German film about the First World War. It was very gory, and it got the Oscar nominations, right? So I liked the film, but that's not the German film. But this accounted for 50% of the German, like from that 18%, basically half was that one film, you know.
Yeah.
And so it means the other 15 productions they did in that year, nobody watched them, basically.
Yeah. They were like
Well,
off to the side. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like people are very fickle on what they want. Like Yellowstone, I've only seen the first season, which I enjoyed, which is a modern day Western.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Costner leaves a few seasons later and he does Horizon and it tanks. So it's like you got Costner in a modern Western that does very well. And then he does an actual Western, which he's known for, and it bombs. And he's already made part 2. And there's 4 parts to this. So now what are you going to do? And it would almost make sense that if, you know, if First Shift cost, you said $2 million.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you got this film that shot in New York, and I waited to the very end of the credits, and it's all shot Brooklyn, New York. It's shot on location. It's not Canada.
Yeah.
And you're using cars that look authentic. You're using dialogue that seems authentic. You're using situations that would be authentic. At least I would think maybe New York or LA with how crazy people are.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have a guy with a meat cleaver who just keeps cutting himself, you know, and the cops don't really know what to do. That even if they wanted a TV show for something like this, that would be a good pilot. And it would just be an extended pilot, which then they could go on and do more things with these characters. And then if they wanted to leave, you bring in different characters. But it doesn't make sense that when you have something like Red One, you know, which I liked, it's not great, but I liked it. And then you hear about all the stuff that The Rock did on set, like peeing in bottles and things and always being late, which brought it up like $10 million or something. And it bombs. Wouldn't it make more sense to go with somebody like you, who's a name, making a movie for $2 million in New York? That to me just seems like a no-brainer.
Exactly. That's the thing. If you would have like business people running that shows, basically these companies, there it would be a no-brainer. If I would be in charge of Paramount Plus and I'm watching every day, I look up what's going on, right? So, and I sit in front of my desk and I think, okay, that First Shift poster is now since 3-4 weeks in front of me. It's holding up, right? I would say, who did that film? I would ask the guy where we bought it from Quiver. Okay, do they have a second part? Right? How much they want, right? And if the guy said they can do for 20 million bucks, 10 full episodes or whatever, I would give the order right off the bat. I would say, what's the risk? Yellowstone, every episode costs 20 million bucks. You know, like, I mean, I would totally do this. But
Yeah.
this kind of people are not existing anymore. There's nobody who makes any decision. I think they feed everything in a computer, and then AI tells them what to do, you know, and they say, look, there's no name actor, don't do it. You know, whatever, you know, like it's this kind of totally absurdity, basically, where you have a situation where you just cannot reach them anymore. I think in the interview we did before, I said, like, on Amazon, when you put something in, when they're really, so there are two options to Amazon. You send them something, they say, we don't want to, forget it, whatever, or they send you a link. Then at the link, you have to put like the title in, who is playing in it, the director, and then a synopsis and a little longer synopsis, you know, and then this thing doesn't go to humans. That's their AI check. So then this goes in the computer, and if this spits out, thank you, no, then there are no more humans involved. Like, you could just get the email that they're not interested in the project, and then nobody watched it. If this computer spits out that could be something, then the human will contact you, right? So, and they will say, okay, but what's the deal on this? Like, how much should that be? What is it, the plan? When you want to shoot it? So they start gathering more informations, and then they still will maybe pass on something if you don't have Sylvester Stallone. You know, like, they will still like say, okay, but you cannot really do this with the actors you proposed. Like First Shift, if I would have put it in that system before I shot the film, that actors would be a knockout, like it would be over, right? If I would say I have Jennifer Lopez and the other guy is whatever, Kevin Costner, then you get a call like, really? Did you really have them? So how much is it? Yeah. And then you say, it's like 15 million per episode. Can you imagine how much I have to pay them? Right. And then, like, you have a good shot that you get that, you know. But now all the actors are also turned into producers. As you see, like, they all have production company. Look at Apple, George Clooney, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. They do one Apple show after the other based on the Apple wants to work with them, and they're producing all that shit themselves. So try to get a letter of intent from any actor. It's over. It doesn't happen anymore. On A-list cast, nobody gives a shit. Like, you call the agent, you say whatever, and you don't get an answer. Like, they said, we're not doing LOIs. You have to do a pay or play offer, or they don't react, right? And you say, okay, but look, how should I do a pay or play offer? Like, I cannot pay you if I don't get then the order from a channel or whatsoever, you know. With Costner, we have that Elliot Ness project, like the second part of Untouchables, like the FBI, like the last case of Elliot Ness. And that was one of the most successful films he did, Untouchables, right? And we have interest from 2 streamers who said, if Kevin Costner plays Elliot Ness again, we consider to be in, like, we can do this, right? So then I contacted Costner's agent and said, look, if he would do it, I think we can pay him for that film 15 million bucks, right? But I cannot say I pay you the 15 million bucks because the studio has to say, okay, you have Costner, boom, we do it, you know. But I was at that point that they would back that up. And that when I said, can I say your name? Can I say your name at the offer? Whatever. They said, no problem, you can say it. So that was perfect. And he never answered. And James Russo, who's in my film Run, is in Horizon. And he had the script for Elliot Ness to give to him personally. And then, as you maybe recognize, there is Horizon 3 and 4. The shooting got canceled, right? So they are not doing it right now because they lost too much money on the 2 first parts. And so James also could never give him the script. And I called his production company, I called the manager, I called the agent, and I don't even get a fucking answer. You know, it's completely insane. It's not a spec script where you say it's the second part. It's Elliot Ness, the famous FBI guy who basically got Al Capone arrested. So would not the whole world would like it to see the last case of Elliot Ness?
Yeah.
No results. Nothing happened.
That is crazy.
And you've worked with a bunch of different actors.
What?
And you've worked with a bunch of different actors. I mean, it's not like you just have to settle for Joe Blow from the drama department at some high school. I mean, you've worked with Burt Reynolds and Jason Statham and Michael Pare and you've worked with a ton of actors. It's not so you're doing something right, to get these people. I mean, Christian Slater is another one, and it's these guys are big actors. So
but the time I did that films was I had like more money, but the other point was they were all not doing TV at that time. Now everybody's doing TV.
Everyone's doing TV, yeah.
Like when I shot like whatever Jason Statham or Burt Reynolds, Ray Liotta, and all that people, they were looking for the next film they can do, and they did a lot of independent films because they know if I play in the film will get distribution, I get paid, I like the script, I'm doing it. They were actually responding to offers, right? And Kevin Costner almost did In the Name of the King. He got the first offer before Jason Statham, and I had him on the call and then he finally did it because he wanted like a private jet and all this bullshit. I said, are you insane? You know, like I mean, he wanted to meet me and come with a private jet to Vancouver, and I said, no, I'm coming to you, like to meet you, to ask you if you want to be in the film. It's not like I spent it was $46,000 was that private jet, and he wanted that I just wired the money for a meeting. And I said, no, I said, I'm not doing that. It's not how I operate. I said, wherever you are, I fly there for $800. So and then the meeting never happened. And people told me before that it's kind of an asshole, right? So that's very, like Christian Slater told me, like on 3,000 Miles to Graceland and Robin Hood, that Costner was not treating people well. And with that informations, I also, like, I'm not so surprised about that Yellowstone broke apart, and that and also that I never got a response for Elliot Ness. I don't know what the problem with him. I like Kevin Costner film. Dances with Wolves is in the top 20 for me. I love that film. He deserved to be success. Open Range. He did a lot of good films. I like his style. I like his acting. So totally. But it doesn't mean that he cannot be an asshole. So and I think the two things what with Horizon also is Yellowstone is a mega hit, and you cannot not give the audience a satisfying ending. That he stepped out in the middle of the season and said, I'm not coming back, and they basically had to then cheat it that he's dead, right? I mean, what else you want to do? It's like you find like a dead body and say it's him, so there's no other option you have. And that's so cheesy, so bad, and so disrespectful to the audience who followed you for 5-6 years. That show brought Kevin Costner back. Without that show, there would be no financing of Horizon in the first place. And he put a lot of his personal money into. What I appreciate that the guy like Coppola, they put private money and stuff because they believe in it. I think it's great that they do this, right? But Horizon is a stretched out TV series. It's not Dances with Wolves or Open Range. It's not like this. It's weaker. That's the thing, and with Coppola, whatever, I mean, 3 films from Coppola are in my top 10 of all times. Godfather 1, 2, and Apocalypse Now. And that alone he's an icon of cinema. But I knew that I will hate Megapolis. And that's the reason I didn't watch it, because whatever I saw from that film made me like, I just don't want to watch it. It's like I couldn't do it. But I
Yeah.
appreciate that he did that, right? So I know I will hate it, and I know I can only watch that when it's at a streamer at one point, and I couldn't do it to me. And that's the thing. It's like, as you said, it's like the times changed, right? And now think about what Costner now did with Horizon. Basically, he's doing now an acting job in the Philippines somewhere, I read in the trade. So he doesn't want to play Elliot Ness, but he plays like a guy in the Philippines having a double life, whatever. I mean, what the fuck? You know, where you feel like, how could you not do the Elliot Ness film and don't respond to like it would be a major payday for him too, right? It's not like, play Elliot Ness for me, I give you $500,000. No, it's like, no, we will get that streamer paying you an enormous amount of money, and you're not giving him an answer, like zero from the agent, not a no, not a yes, like dead silence. The only answer I got is, yeah, make the offer, right? Then we wrote the offer, we sent the script, and I never heard from them again. That was like 3 months ago. It's like over.
Oh, wow.
So if you had the budget, like let's say $50 million or $60 million, and you could get a Kevin Costner, out of all your movies, and you've made a lot of movies, would you remake any of them? Like, are there any films that you've done where you're like, ooh, that, you know, if I had the money, that could have been better? What are there any ones that you would like to remake?
Not really. Not really. But it's funny that they do House of the Dead new with Paul Tom, like the Anderson guy from Resident Evil, because I worked on doing House of the Dead again. I asked Sega, I asked Lionsgate, I said, look, I think House of the Dead will do very well, like a reboot, like a new one. And it has to be wild, it has to be gruesome, and it has to be like kind of this, not the style of the first one, a little different, you know, but with the same kind of really zombie action, and not like two zombies in the forest, like chasing two people, like, no, bigger. And then it turned out, oh, they did already a totally different deal, and the Anderson guy is doing House of the Dead, and I think it would be not so bad if he's doing it like to compete both, like compare both movies in the very end, right? So to see what he's doing, there will be way more CGI. There will be way more this kind of sci-fi look to it. It's like what he did in Resident Evil. I think it's boring, right? So it's this kind of yeah, he's this kind of guy, he's doing always the same stuff, basically, you know. It's like he could never chew out a Darfur film, or, you know, or First Shift. It would never happen. And that's the thing. So I'm curious to see how it turns out. We will see. But I think also, and I told it to Lionsgate already, don't miss that opportunity that when House of the Dead, the new one next year in fall, comes out, re-release House of the Dead. For midnight screenings, for Halloween, whatever. Don't miss that opportunity. I'm sure next year we do a podcast, they completely missed that opportunity. But you could make a few $1 million on the old House of the Dead when the new House of the Dead comes out.
Oh yeah, that'd be a smart move. That'd definitely be a smart move to, you know, I know a lot of people and colleagues of mine in the industry that are actually fans of House of the Dead. You know, that's something that we've always, you know, talked about ourselves. So if they were to re-release it, I'm pretty sure it'll definitely be a smart move to do that.
Yeah, because it had also some iconic scenes, you know, like with, like, we had that crazy turntable, we had the Matrix set up, you know, we had like all that mega gore in it, big explosions. So there were some features in it you didn't really saw in a lot of other films before. And that's, I think, the asset. And that it was a little funny, campy, whatever. I felt that's also the mentality you play the game with.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. It's like when you dig into things like First Shift, for example, there were like few very bad reviews out. There were some good reviews, but the very bad reviews wrote about First Shift that it doesn't have a real story, and it's just one scene after the other, right? And you feel like that guy didn't watch the film. It's first shift. The whole point is that it's exactly like this. You have during a shift 4 or 5 different incidents, accidents, things happening, and they're of course not connected to each other.
Yeah, that's reality.
How can you write that it's a mess because it has so much different things, instead of seeing the positive stuff that we sell New York? It's a great, that some people wrote it like it's a great film about New York. It's a great film about how New York, like how the city looks like, because we shot everywhere in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, in Queens, everywhere, right? So, and it's like a real road movie through that city, and also kind of a love letter to the craziness of New York and all of that stuff. That is what I wanted. And some see it, but the majority doesn't see it. The majority is like, oh, it's overboard, it's crap. And we find a reason, right? If you would have Terrence Malick shooting, they would still didn't left the police office and looked at the moon and were drinking coffee for 90 minutes, and nothing would happen in a Terrence Malick film. And everybody would say, it's so poetic. The best thing I ever watched. Is so great, right? And that's my general problem with a lot of that films. Also, a lot of the films who running for Oscars or get all that pricing, the Gotham City Awards and the Golden Globe and all this pricing everywhere. It's this kind of way you feel like, as more boring and absurd you make the films, as higher is your chance to get an invite to a film festival. And then flipping, you get 10 minutes like in Cannes and whatever, where they do 10 minutes standing ovation. I can't even imagine that I would standing on any film for 10 minutes and clap like a fucking retard. You know, where you think like, what is it? I think it's so absurd. This is all totally absurd. And that is where I have a problem with, that you have the feeling like, is it only me? Or and then you talk to your friends and they say, yeah, it was unwatchable, like total crap, whatever, like some of the movies they're getting like Oscar nominated and so on. And you think like, what the fuck is this? You know? It's a big problem that they don't connect. And then like my wife sent me like, click it on right now here. She said like, go on, because that insurance guy who got killed in New York, there was a whole Reddit thing now that likes Assault on Wall Street. It's like inspired by Assault on Wall Street, right? And they were writing about it. Like, I mean, no, it's not. Like Assault on Wall Street was about the 2008 bailouts, and the guy loses his whole family. The wife is doing suicide, and then he kills the bankers. That is the film story. You know, that a guy now killed that insurance broker, or the boss of the whole insurance company in New York, is, it is similar, right? Because it looked like the guy has a personal beef with the insurance company. And they will find out who that was, but it may be some guy who didn't get covered by the insurance. I mean, that makes the most sense. You think you're insured, your house blows away from a tornado, you get nothing, right? And then like, why I don't get nothing, you know? And then maybe that was the case. I don't know. I really don't know who killed that guy. But the reality is, then you read the Reddit thread, and then it's like, it starts about the one guy who said, yeah, it's similar to Assault on Wall Street, a very good film from Boll. And then it starts like hundreds of people. Boll makes only crap, blah, 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 without ever watching any film, right? So it's this kind of like, you still can trigger it today on Reddit or on this kind of bullshit websites, that you just name me and the prejudgment is out. And that's enormous pissing me off. You know,
that's very really unfair.
After 37 films and like 30 years in the business, they just don't get tired to unqualified bash my films, and this shit infiltrates the buyers, the agents, the normal media, and it's totally unfair. It has nothing to do with reality, right?
It's because people they see your name and then like you said, they assume without even seeing it, and they're not watching, Assault, on Wall Street, which had something to say. They're not watching Darfur. They're not watching, which was a brutal movie, and they're not seeing Auschwitz. They're not seeing these movies. They're not seeing these. Instead, they go, "Oh, Alone in the Dark." Oh, Alone in the Dark, or House of the Dead. It's like, but he has like 40 films. Have you seen his other movies? That's, you can't judge a band on one song.
Yeah.
Have you actually heard a few of their albums first? And that's why I mentioned on our last interview, right at the very beginning, that I think that you've been treated very unfairly, and I will always defend you. One person I put up the poster on Facebook that I was watching First Shift.
I saw that.
And the guy goes, "Did you lose a bet?"
Yeah.
And I wrote, "Nope, I like his movies." And it's like, have you even seen it? Do you? No. You probably haven't done. Have you even watched the trailer? Yes. It's like immediately it's assumed.
Yeah, and I think that a lot also has to do with the way the world is right now. One critic can say one bad thing, and no one has the right to their own opinion. Everyone will be like, "Oh, he said it's bad, I'm not going to watch it." I agree, it's bad. It's like, you guys haven't even watched it. For some reason, I've noticed in the industry itself, or in anything now, people can't make up their own opinions. People can't sit down and watch a movie and enjoy it because they actually enjoy it. They go off of the Rotten Tomatoes or something where they said it's horrible, don't watch it. You're just like, no, watch it. Be an adult and make your own opinion off of something instead of going based off of someone else's thoughts. I think that has a lot to do with things not moving forward, or in your case, people just badmouth. It's like, no, be your own person. I think that's a huge issue. I think that I even find within my films, that people, it's insane. And that on top of, I've met many people where I'm like, I hear they tell me, "Oh, we don't watch a movie if it's not in theaters because it's not a good movie." That is so wrong.
Yes.
Like, there's so many movies that don't even hit theaters that are better than the stuff that's in theaters. Yeah. Like, people really need to sit down and, take control of their thoughts in a sense and make your own judgments on your own. Stop going based off of other people. That's one of the biggest things that I'm seeing in this industry. It's killing the industry, honestly. It really is.
I agree. And it's like the films who get P&A behind them, they are like pushed by big agencies. They have like the director, the actors are represented by William Morris and whatever. They're getting pushed into distribution. They get a P&A behind it. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you cannot be successful in US movie theaters without spending $10-20 million in a release, at least, right? Then you have, of course, every few years, you have something like Terrifier now, right? And you had it with other, like Blair Witch, whatever, like of course. But that's one lucky draw. Yeah. It's like winning the lottery, that it connected with a social media campaign, similar to very early on Blair Witch. It connected because people saw it's real. It's found footage that basically started it all. And Paranormal Activities was already the major Paramount trying to copy the success, and it worked. Was a good campaign, but like Paramount things there were like more money behind it as Blair Witch. Blair Witch was a really surprising hit, and Terrifier is similar, but you cannot build an industry based on the total lucky draw. It's like it doesn't work, right? So. And there are, as we all know, way better horror films as Terrifier, but nobody gives a fuck because they had that lucky thing with the first one, and then they make a franchise out of it, like Saw and stuff like this. And, it's a very bad kind of self-fulfilling prophecy going on, and what the streamers don't get is that they indirectly destroyed the independent filmmaker completely. In destroying Blockbuster, in destroying this kind of really liberal, democratic kind of film distribution in Walmart, Best Buy, everywhere were huge video blogs. And people picked up things based on the cover and not on the money spent on it. And, when that died based on streaming, and multi-billion companies took over that whole industry, that was the end, because they want high-end product with high-end stars where they can dine with in LA, and they don't have this kind of people on the ground anymore who go into the horror festivals, into the conventions to pick stuff. You will not find people like this. And that's the reason also all that film markets like the AFM, whatever, they're breaking completely apart, you know? So it's just because there are like some old fashioned buyers from Brazil there maybe, but the days where you can really sell a film in the film market are totally over. It's like basically you only need to send online screeners out, and you get an answer, and you get an offer or not, you know. And with Paramount maybe getting swallowed up, they're fighting against Larry Ellison, right? So that maybe Sony swallows Paramount, and HBO, like, you know, fusions with Peacock, whatever. Like, we will have less and less and less people.
Yeah.
All the people on Fox I dealt with on some of my films were fired after Disney bought Fox. Like, they are gone. Like, I have no further contacts to Fox. I don't even know where they bought it, because basically they bought Fox to close it down. You know.
Oh wow.
Yeah, when you see that, right? What is left? Left are some strange art house films on Hulu or whatever. Like when you see Disney Plus, there's this kind of act of kindness, whatever, like this kind of Cannes-winning films, but they are more like this kind of Fox Searchlight product. You know, we win Cannes with. But the classical Fox film, who was more adult-driven, who was harder, who had no problem with R-rated content, shrink down and down and down and down, you know. And the same will happen with this kind of with Paramount, and at one point Lionsgate will get bought too. Like, you know, it's like they cannot stand alone for long. It's like they're making losses and losses and losses, and they will get just bought, like MGM got bought by Amazon. They will just get swallowed up, you know. And then you have only algorithms. You will have at one point in 10 years, I tell you, it's only AI.
Yeah. And the key part of all this down to its stream.
Oh yeah,
Joe, you're going in and out, Joe.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Try again.
but it's the clicking again.
Still?
No, it's back. I think, you know what it is, that it's a cable. One of the cables make a noise.
Well, try it again, Joe. Ask your question.
Oh, I was at the end. Go to.
No,
It's
going in. Yeah, it's in and out.
Maybe write your question. Write your question. Because I have already also here, the hour is over. So, but I mean, we can almost wrap it up. But I'm happily to come back on anytime, right? And yeah, it's like I think for everybody who's a film fan, it's this kind of where you feel this. We're getting into a kind of a helpless situation, you know, that in the end you cannot recoup a film because you posted yourself on YouTube, you know. So it's like, yes, you can maybe recoup 10 grand on it if it turns into a success, but you cannot recoup $250,000 on YouTube without spending $100,000 in advertising. You know, like, it's this kind of like, who should watch this? You know, you would need like, I talked to a guy who's doing only stuff on YouTube, and he said, so if you have 1 million views in India on YouTube, you get $400. If you have 1 million views in the US on YouTube, you have maybe $8,000, right? So, but that shows, like, let's say you shot a film for 100,000, you would need 10 million views in the US or Europe, like Germany and so on, where the advertising is higher, where the prices are higher. So where for 10 million views, and they have to watch it for 25 minutes, otherwise it doesn't count. So if they switch off after 5 minutes, it doesn't count. So it means like to recoup 100,000, you would need like 10 million, 11 million views. And that's very tough to get. I mean, you know, with a non-brand, with like, you're not posting Mission Impossible now on YouTube, that you get the views there, right? So, but you post a film was maybe nowhere else to watch before, and you want that people click it on. How you want to get that? How you want to get that amount of views? So, and that's a huge problem now. I mean, it's a huge problem because we put things up on Apple, we put things up on Amazon yourself, like, but Amazon Prime now also went down to like, from like 20 cents a view down to 5 cents a view, right? So they don't pay you properly anymore. And that's all bullshit, you know. When you have that 10,000 views, you get like $400-500 from Amazon Prime. I mean, what the fuck, you know? Like it's not good. So, and that is where the streamers would had to have. That is what, by the way, a strike should did, and not like making people richer. You know, like there's no reason that an actor is not doing a shoot for $500 a day or $600. Why that actor now gets $900? Sounds like a success for the actor, but it doesn't. It makes only independent filmmaking more expensive. You know, it makes it impossible to do union. Everything went so high up, and I think. Like when I saw the strike from the Writers Guild, for example, right? And then later they released, like, if you are in the writer's room of a studio TV series, you get now $12,000 a week. And you got $9,000 a week before. And they were whiny about it. I mean, if you make $9,000 a week, they're not aware that 95% of the people working in the film industry think this is insanely high. And they were demonstrating like they cannot live from it. Okay, if you want to live in Beverly Hills and all your kids go to private schools, then maybe you cannot live from it. But that's not the normal world, right? So that was so absurd. This strike was totally absurd. They should strike that streamers have the obligation, each streamer, to spend per year $500 million in independent films, in films under $5 million. And give it to directors and filmmakers who are used to do genre films, hard-hitting genre films, to go to horror films, to thrillers, to experiment, right? They should like strike for this. This will keep like this few hundred million, let's say 500 million all together, like all streamers together, 500 million in films per every year, made not by studios, not by big agents, not with big actors, right? That would keep everybody happy. Everybody could make films. Everybody would have distribution. And for them, it's peanuts in comparison to what they spend, you know, in total. Like Netflix spends like 15 billion a year. So, you know, it's like they could do this, but they don't. Instead, they overpay actors for streaming movies and give people $20-30 million in salary so that George Clooney gets richer and richer and richer, even if he shoots only shit. You know, I mean, yeah, you know, it's like he's not a great actor and he shoots only shit, but he is a superstar because he's politically influential, whatever. And then he gets the films up pumped his ass, you know. And that's the problem. It's really a problem. And they're not aware of what they're doing. You know, they're pushing everybody out of the industry. That is what they're doing. And it's very bad. I wish like the you know, the LP, when the LP can make the record for music, I hope the DVD comes back. Yeah. That people say, fuck that shit. The streamers have only crap. Now it's time to go back and looking into DVDs and Blu-rays.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I love those.
I think so. I actually went to Target the other day, and Target no longer has DVD sections. They don't sell DVDs anymore.
Yes.
In fact, I even asked the employee, I go, where do you have your movies? He goes, oh no, we don't sell those things anymore. And when he said things, that pissed me off.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, I was so mad. What do you mean these things? He goes, yeah, those things you put in that player. That's exactly how we said it. And I was like, wow, man. You have 5 aisles of books. People don't even read books anymore. They're using their phones to read books, but you have not 1 aisle of movies, DVDs, Blu-rays. It's sad. It really is sad.
I agree. It's very bad. It's a very bad tendency. And but it makes for the streamers, for this multi-billion corporations, total sense, right? Indirectly, because what are they doing? What they're doing with the young generation? They make them watch only 10 minutes movies, TikTok, Instagram. They make them, with the social media they're creating and all that internet, they make them the customers of their shit, what they're doing, basically. They're creating them, that they could not sit through a real movie anymore. That's what's happening, right? And then like Zuckerberg and other crazy people will give you the glasses, and then you're in the 3D realm, and you don't even know where you are anymore, and you don't care if you have really people there or whatever, your avatar. That's the world we're going towards to, right? And that is very bad. I hate that. I think that's the worst thing what can happen to our world and society, that there are no more real contacts and no more physically, like, you know. And then the next step is AI, that they do the whole film in AI.
Yeah.
They push the button, and then like, oh, make a film like Star Wars. Bing! You know, that's what we're running in.
Yeah.
But I hope that will not happen before I'm dead. You know, how the world looks in 50 or 60 years with this crap, I don't care anymore. You know, so but I still hope I will make a few more films, and I hope there's still an audience watching like a straightforward story. You know.
Yeah. Okay, so I know that you need to take off, and you've stayed a little bit longer, so thank you very much. Is there anything that you would like to, before we end, tell people, like, where can they go see First Shift and stuff?
Please go to like IMDb, vote for First Shift, like go write letters or Twitters to Paramount, like, that they say, look, we want the TV series, we want at least the second part, like create some buzz for it. Who knows, what, like maybe they're waking up at one time, or it needs only the one guy who says, no, it's true, like, why we're not looking into this, right? So, I mean, and whoever listens to this, maybe they can help us a little.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I really liked First Shift, so please go check it out.
Yeah, I come back on, no worries about it. Okay, bye.
Nice meeting you.
Okay, bye.
All right, thank you for being on again, everybody. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one, Filmmakers. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. This was a great episode. So go see First Shift. Bye, everybody.
Bye.